Hi, my name is Akshita Marathi, and today I'm going to present software testing approach for cloud applications. So currently, cloud is such a hot topic. So I thought let's have some knowledge sharing into this topic, where I will be explaining the case testing. In this presentation, I will be explaining what is exactly the cloud testing and why do we need cloud testing. We do have the traditional approaches for the software testing. Then why we need cloud testing. Also, I will be explaining the phases of the cloud testing life cycle. I will explain the techniques that gets used into this cloud testing and also the tools that help us get this testing done. While there are many good benefits of the cloud testing, or I would say cloud-based testing, but with the benefits always comes the trade-offs. So there are certain challenges that come across when we use the cloud-based testing. So let's see what cloud testing is. So I would say the cloud testing is a type of software testing in which the software application is actually tested using the cloud computing services. Overall, the purpose of the cloud testing is actually to test the functional as well as the non-functional requirements of the applications. So, using cloud testing, it ensures that the application is scalable, it is flexible enough to fit into any platform, and also it saves the time and cost that we need for the software testing. The software testing is actually used to simulate the testing environment over the cloud. The cloud-based testing is actually used to assess the web applications. As the name indicates, this form of testing is performed on the third-party cloud computing environment that actually houses the whole required infrastructure for us rather than having it in-house. So, like I was saying, why do we? We do have the conventional testing. Then, what is exactly the difference in there? So, the cloud-based testing is actually very useful in eliminating the environment-related schedule delays. So, for example, we have to order hardware, we have to install the software, we have to make sure the softwares are renewed in time and maintain those softwares. So all this process takes time and it takes money. Also, there could be some gaps between the installations and the configuration, which might lead into the delays. So the cloud testing makes sure that these delays don't happen as versus to the traditional testing because we are doing everything on our in-house infrastructure. We cannot guarantee those delays. Also, cloud testing offers many automation tools, so automation testing can be achieved and it will avoid any activity overlap that may occur between the team members. It also improves the overall collaboration because there could be an instance where the development team is sitting in some other area and the testing team may be sitting in some other state. So they are geographically dispersed and they need to have something in common to share the resources. And cloud testing or the cloud computing service will make sure that they have access to those shared resources over the cloud. Now, talking about the service models. So, in cloud computing, there are three service models. One is software as a service. So, this particular model is actually given to the consumer so that it can access any cloud application over the web browser. Then comes platform as a service. So this one is provided to the consumer so that they can deploy their own applications over the cloud infrastructure that is available. And the third one is the infrastructure as a service. So this is provided to the consumer so that it can have all the computing resources and the infrastructure, which may include network or the database or the storage or the processing computers so it can deploy and run its application. Now, about the cloud models. So, we have around we have four types of cloud here. So, those four models are private, public, hybrid, and community. So, the private cloud is dedicated to the organization, so it is specific to their own space. The public cloud is open to uh, everyone so everyone can have the easy access to it. The hybrid model, it is actually a mix of all these models together. And the community model is actually made for the specific purpose. It could be like mission, policy, or some security requirements. So these are the types of cloud that are available, and as per our own requirement, we can choose what cloud is actually accessible to us. So now, why do we need the cloud testing? We covered some points earlier, but now we will see why do we exactly need the cloud testing. So, like here, it's mentioned availability of the dynamic environment for the testing. So, in the traditional testing method, the organization will need to have the hardware and software infrastructure to conduct its testing. But we also know that in real-time world sometimes whatever we set up at our local or in organization, it is not as same as the client because client may have the environment that is very dynamic that could be changing as per the needs. So cloud actually gives us the option to have that infrastructure ready that will provide us that dynamic and the challenging environment that customer is also having, and we like it's ready made for us to use it. So we save a lot of time there having set up for us. Also more economical. So as we saw, because we don't have to pay for the infrastructure, this reduced cost makes the cloud testing option very economical. This actually saves a lot of money for the customer as well as the organization because organizations don't have to maintain those test environments. Also easily adaptable. So we like various of the infrastructures are available. So the cloud testing can be done on multiple platforms, multiple infrastructure. However the need is, however the client infrastructure would be, we can pick and choose the infrastructure to be tested. Also, there are multiple testing that can be performed like load testing, performance testing, integration testing. So there are multiple tools that are available. So cloud is very adaptable to the needs and it is very flexible as per the consumer needs. So we can take advantage of that. And then comes the scalability. So it is demand based on resources. It's basically pay for what you use. So this elasticity feature of the cloud where the resources can be expanded or it can be shrunk based on the demand. There could be a situation where the requirements could keep changing due to the dynamic behavior of the product. So then we don't have to hold the resources even if we are not using it, so we can use the dynamic we can use the resources dynamically as we need them. Moving on to the cloud testing life cycle. So we know how we have different phases into life software life cycle, and we do have a particular life cycle for the software testing as well. So what's difference between the regular software testing and this cloud testing life cycle? The whole concept is almost same. It's just that it is also leveraging the cloud service uh, requirements in here. So let's see what exactly are the phases. So the first one is develop user scenarios. So in this phase, basically what we do is we go through all the requirements that are listed by the consumer. We go through all the details, all the setup that is needed. We verify it with the different stakeholders, do the questionnaire and make sure we understand all the requirements, and according to those requirements we phase, we actually verify the functionality. So we build some test cases, we cross-check them with the requirements and see if the documents are whatever document is explaining those requirements, whatever details that we have, and whatever setup that is given, all the tests are actually covering these areas. Then the next phase is select the cloud service provider. So in every organization, they have a specific requirement uh, based on which we should be able to select the cloud provider. So we can pick and choose what services, what resources that we need. So this makes sure that we have the complete package of the technologies and the service availabilities and whatever performance we are expecting, so we can choose such resources that will make sure we have our requirements. The next phase is set up infrastructure. So in this, basically, we need to make sure that the architect actually makes sure that all the key requirements are addressed here. It could be related to the system support, could be related to the resource management and the load service management. It could be related to the reliability and the security of the application, the user interfaces that will be used. So architect will make sure all these requirements are included in the cloud strategy. The next phase is leveraging the cloud servers. So to maximize our benefits, we have to take the advantage of the cloud services that are available. So we have to keep in mind that we have to budget the cloud computing carefully so that we don't overpay or we don't overestimate the resources and we still use the maximum out of the cloud servers. The next phase is start testing. So this is where the testing admin or the testing team basically will actually start testing, and it comes it uses the test that that were built into earlier phase, and it uses the automated tools to actually go through the testing. Well, after the testing is done, after the test execution is done, the next phase is monitor testing goals. In this phase, the testing team will be comparing the expected outcome with the actual outcome, and it will make sure if there is any extra testing is required, or do we need to circle back with the developers with the gaps that are there. And accordingly, the goal is decided if that goal is met or it still have the gaps. And the last phase is deliver results. So once this execution is done, all of the results are documented, all the defect logs are created, and the whole test report is generated for the client. So the client can determine whether they're happy with the testing, they're happy with the quality that was determined by this testing. Now, moving on to the cloud testing techniques. So, in cloud testing techniques, there are three categories. Basically, there is functional techniques, non-functional techniques, and ability testing techniques. So, in the functional testing, or it can be called as essential testing, these are the main requirements. These are the functional requirements that needs to be tested. These are all the features that are expected out of application from the customer. So in functional testing, it consists of uh, system testing, integration testing, and the user acceptance testing. So system testing is basically testing the functionality from end to end. The integration testing would be how the whole segment of application, when it is grouped together, so how those components are working efficiently with each other. If there are any compatibility issues, how that system works with the new system, how it is compatible with the existing system. So that is all checked, yeah, or that is all verified in this type of testing. In the user acceptance testing, it is mainly focused on the product functionality before it actually goes in the market. So it checks for all the basic business criteria that should meet the user's requirement. Then comes the non-functional requirement. So non-functional requirement testing is actually referring to the non-functional requirements. So it could be related to performances, the availability of the resources, the usability of the resources. So it has multiple categories again in here are the business requirement testing, availability testing, usability testing, globalization testing. Globalization testing is actually a testing wherein we are checking whether the cloud application is globally accepted, how the change of languages and the settings and everything happens whenever it changes the geographical location. The security testing it is the most demanding task for the cloud resources because it validates whether all the security is in place and there are no vulnerabilities that may fall for cybercrime or related risk. So it makes sure of those kind of testing. Then we also can test for the scalability and the performance testing. So there are tools that use that are available for the load testing, which can replicate the scenario where multiple users are logged in or the huge traffic is there. So that can be tested in this type of testing. And the last one is ability testing techniques. So in ability testing technique, it checks mainly for how user is capable to receive the desired services from the cloud on demand. So that includes compatibility and interoperability testing, disaster recovery testing, and multi-tenancy testing. So the compatibility testing is to check whether the how the application is compatible on different platforms or different operating systems. Disaster recovery testing is actually checks how the system detects if there is any failure and how soon it can brought back in, how uh, how many times the system is breaking down, so that all is tested in this type of testing. And multi-tenancy testing is actually wherein there could be different users logged in at the same time, but could be sharing only single instance. So how the data integrity is maintained in the application that is tested in here. So just like what we explained right now, this is all the list of the cloud test. To have this testing, to make sure this testing happens, we have multiple cloud testing tools basically. And depending on how our application is, we can choose if we want to opt for the web app automation tools, or it could be more mobile automation tools, desktop automation tools, service automation tools, or we could be doing only performance testing. So accordingly, our need, we have many tools available in the market that we can leverage. It will check the platform compatibility. It can check the flexibility, how the application is flexible enough. So there are also certain tools that are available like Qtest, Apache JMeter, Load UI that can be used for the load testing. Now talking about the challenges. So in the like we saw, there are so many advantages of the cloud-based testing, but there are certain challenges that comes with the cloud testing. For example, security, because there are shared resources, so it is very challenging for the cloud-based system to make sure that security is maintained. The performance, there could be network failure, there could be any database shortage, so that may lead to the performance issues. The configuration, during the testing activity, there are certain configuration that are required by the customer that may not be provided by the cloud provider. So the customer customer or the implementing team have to make sure that configurations are uh, done correctly. Also, the integration. In the integration testing, the tester may face the challenge related to the network or database or the servers because it does not have any control over that environment. If anything fails, if anything like the network crashes or any other failure happens, then the tester will not have the ability to make sure that testing goes well. To conclude this presentation, I would say the adequate product testing can certainly help in revealing all the issues to make the product better. In like today's world, there's hyper competitive time it is. So the companies have to step up and they have to leverage the cloud technologies to the maximum so that they can save on the infrastructure cost. So the cloud-based testing is that one methodology that can accelerate this testing process and also can reduce the overhead cost by maintaining they don't have to maintain the in-house infrastructure, and that will certainly reduce the cost. These are the references that I have used for my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.